So hello everybody, I've been dreadfully sick for the past like 2 or 3 days. I've called off work, I have this really bad headache. There's nothing I want to do more at this moment than review Enlightenment by Sarah Perry. This book is about a guy called Thomas who writes newspaper columns and he thinks life is pretty or something, whatever, who cares. I thought this book was a total beach read, one of the trashiest and most boring books I've read in a while. It was a very sleepy book, it was pure hongshu material, and it did not require any mental effort on my end at all, apart from certain moments where I was just annoyed or confused. I wasn't very big on this book, and I think the worst thing about it is the boring and woefully unlikable characters. Truly, I have never read a book in all my long years where a main character, in this case Thomas, speaks so much like the author, and the author even recognizes this main character's ability to talk in metaphors and fully formed, complicated sentences by having characters go, "Wow, Thomas, you have a very strange way of speaking." Unfortunately, none of the other characters say, "Wow, Thomas, you speak exactly like the author Sarah Perry writes. That's very strange." Some truly ridiculous dialogue in this particular book, even if it's coming from a guy who's meant to be an old, pretentious man. One piece of dialogue I noted down in particular was, "Not demented scribbles by a woman disappointed in love. It is an image of a place where stars are being born." It's like the most unrealistic fucking dialogue. It's so bad. I know one of the most common critiques I give for books is that the characters speak like aliens, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. Realistic dialogue is not necessarily something that every book needs. But I think with dialogue like this, my problem is not with it in itself. I feel a neediness on the part of the author to express a certain thing in a poetic way, and they are unwilling to compromise by having realistic dialogue or situations. For example, there's a scene where the homeless guy reveals to Thomas that Maria found a comet. And in that scene, both of the characters speak in the same pretentious, ridiculous way. The exact same way. They use similes in normal conversation, their sentences are long and complete, it's ridiculous. And the tone of the scene and what was needed to be communicated in that poetic, ornate way could have been achieved if one of them spoke in that weird way, and if the other one continued to speak like a citizen of fucking planet Earth. These are not good characters if you cannot distinguish the way that they speak from each other. That is a sign of bad writing. Please agree with me. The adult Nathan and Thomas have a conversation at one point, and it's like the fucking dialogues of Plato. They both sound the exact same. You would think they would sound different because of different, growing up periods, different life experiences, but nope. The only way to say any of Thomas's dialogue, and by extension any of the dialogue in this book, is with this disdainful Oxbridge sneer on your face. I find Thomas unlikable and annoying and devoid of agency, and the book is insisting that we view him as a quirky and human character, and I was not standing for it. However, I would say the other main character, Grace, is far more agentless and shittier. There's a moment, and I noted it down on page 148, and I didn't take the quote because it's basically that whole scene. But there's a scene where Grace and Thomas are talking, and Grace says exactly what she's thinking. She has like a bit of dialogue. And when she said all of that, I realized, wow, everything that she said is everything that is going on with her character, and that is it. What is there to this character that she does not know and admit at face value? And which of the great characters in fiction, or even the half-decent characters in fiction, are able to say exactly what they're thinking without any layering or omission? Where's the subtlety? Where's the complexity? Where's the nuance? These characters say exactly what they think all of the time. They are shitty characters. And Grace is unbelievably uninteresting, and Thomas is annoying. And this is the same complaint I gave to Orbital. If your writing is ornate and the only goal is to have ornate writing, why even have characters? Or why even attempt to get inside a character's head? Just have little people, little sim characters that you move around, and then that's it. That's all you have to fucking do, and just write like, "Isn't Earth beautiful?" That's all these books are doing. They are not real people. This is not real life. I do not feel like it's capturing anything realistic. And it just serves to annoy me because the book is pretending like it is. I thought the biggest praise that you could give to this book is that the writing is very pretty at points. If you read that first page, which is a very nice setup, then be prepared for 400 more pages of that same thing. It is at least consistent. But even then I have my caveats. This book is also another one that felt thesaurus-y. I noted multiple uses of the word occluded for no real reason. There were moments when a sentence was composed in a way that just wasn't optimal and was clearly only done to create diversity on any given page between sentence types, and that got really infuriating. And the pacing in this book is beyond fucked, in my opinion. The first half of this book, your eyes glaze over. It's so boring, and nothing fucking happens, and you're just sort of reading there going, ba-ba-ba, next page, nothing's being advanced, nothing's being developed, and then you get to a moment where there's a fire, and so much shit happens in about 5 or 10 pages that you have to reread those 5 or 10 pages because you have this pace in your head of how you're reading that first half, and then you get to that point and you have to fucking break that flow. I was really confused during that section because it moved at a sentence-to-sentence speed that was inconsistent with the rest of the book. What the book did, and God it was so infuriating, was anything that wasn't plot in the book was written really simply and clearly. It was very straightforward. The descriptive writing is not very dense, you're just flicking the pages. And you're going, these characters do not think anything, they are not characters, we have this one thing that we know about them, Grace is in love, Thomas is in love, that's all there is to their characters, flicking the page. And then when you get to a moment where there's a major plot point, the author will start hiding things or being elliptical or like writing things differently. The author would start to break things up during plot sections and alternate between telling you, showing you, and hiding things from you. And because the rest of the book doesn't do that, when you get to these sections, you're just dreading having to figure out what the fuck is even happening. It was like things would be implied in the plot sections, which is great, we love implications, but nothing in the rest of the book is implied. So when you're getting used to reading it a certain way, you have to change the way that you're reading it, and I hate having to do that. Examples of what I'm talking about include that fire section, and also the moment when Thomas is altered, when I literally didn't understand what was happening for a second. And this book is not doing enough outside of that anyway. This book feels like these few characters standing in this very big empty space. We have 400 pages and there's no reason for that. And you couple that big empty space with unlikable characters and this descriptive ornate style, and also this plot that's very janky. This book left me with an incredibly sour taste. Do writers even know how to edit anymore? Holy shit, the ego on some of these fucking Booker authors is blinding. When you have a 400-page book that could be 250 pages, you really have to interrogate what is in that remaining 150 pages that is so essential or even good. For example, there was not a single moment where I read one of Thomas's news columns and thought, that we were learning new things that we hadn't already seen in the chapter beforehand. But if you told the author to cut out the news column, she would say, I can't do that because the writing is so pretty, and also this is the gimmick I've set for myself. We have to keep having the news columns, right? It happens like 30 fucking times! Does it need to happen 30? Could it happen 29 times or 28? That would save a page. Why are we doing it? Like, you don't learn anything from it, it's just an excuse to be pretty. Again, there is no substance. The writing is not as thesaurus heavy as orbital, but it's equally as airless. I like conciseness in books more because it shows a humility on the part of the writer and also a willingness to be interpreted. This is not an author who is aware of what an editor is. They don't know what editing is, they're not aware of the concept, and they're not willing to show any humility in the way they construct their story. The unbearable final lines of this book. Remember, you are here, Thomas. You are here. You are here. Shut up! What are you pretending to have said, book, with those final lines? What have you done, and why did you need 400 pages to do it? We are killing trees to make a book like this. And a book that tries to deal with such themes as Catholic repression and homosexual guilt and depression ends with this corny-ass visual of everybody in Essex coming out at night to watch a comet and go, ooh, isn't life so pretty? It's the biggest shit I've ever read. Yeah, fuck this book, honestly. Pretty writing has become such a crutch for so many self-entitled authors' entire fucking careers. After reading this, I went back to reading some of Claire Keegan's short stories. Amazing, of course, we know that. And I was just stunned while reading that all authors are not trying to be like her. It was such a detox from the contrived, overdone, overwritten books on this long list. Don't bother reading Anne Michaels, don't try reading Sarah Perry or whoever wrote Orbital, I've forgotten. Just read Claire Keegan. You have complexity, you have class, you have conciseness, you have subtlety, you have that humility I'm talking about, and you have that willingness to handle subject matters that are difficult with a questioning tone. From this point forward, if I read any more books on the long list that are like that, I will DNF and I will tell you that I have. I do not feel the need to do this I black out before I tap out bullshit that I normally do because these books suck. It is unbearable soufflé writing. Fuck it, we're done.